and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, folks. First and foremost, let's really address what's going on as we reach the end of 2023. There are more and more signs of the Biden-Harris administration reaching towards epic failure. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, we're seeing all the recent polling data coming out, and corporate media can try and play its game as much as it can, but at the end of the day, they have to do their job and report the news that Biden is losing support amongst voters. And Donald Trump's approval rating is at an all-time high, or either that he has far more support amongst voters than Biden. It should also be pointed out that Biden has failed on many of his policies. Biden has turned a blind eye to many of the social issues impacting us as a country, but also has done a terrible job as a world super leader or superpower, in charge of a superpower, basically. He's turned a blind eye to what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in Israel. He has allowed madness and insanity to run amok. Now, you would think all the vote blue no matter who crowd would be in full force, but even they don't have a leg to stand on. Even they themselves are losing. And when I see clips like this from TYT, for example, of Anna Kasparian actually going on the record and calling out Biden and the Democrats, I know they're in for a failure. Now, I do have to commend her for this wonderful, wonderful pushback against Biden. But we cannot forget that many people on social media, especially during the 2020 election cycle, were heavily promoting Biden as the better alternative to Trump. I'm glad that people are waking up, or at least either that the vote blue no matter who crowd is just knowing to shut up and stay in their corner. And it's important to note that people do change. Yes, people can change. I'm all for that. Hell, I've made changes over my lifetime. And the thing is, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I want to pull this up here. Because as soon as the Democrats start losing all their vocal support, you know that Trump is going to start steamrolling through the election cycle.
The George W. Bush administration condemned the Israeli government for doing an airstrike in Gaza that took out one Hamas militant but killed 14 other civilians. Think about how disgusting and devolved our country has gone, where Joe Biden can't outdo the war criminal George W. Bush, where George W. Bush has more morality than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I will not be voting for Joe Biden under any circumstance. I don't care about any other policy that he has championed. I cannot, as an Armenian American, support a president who has greenlit the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. This, for me, is the red line.
And for that, I'm not going to hold it against her. Good. Very good. I wish there was this passion more so in the aftermath of 2016 and, dare I say, after 2020, where everyone realized that the Democrats weren't going to do a goddamn thing and Bernie Sanders was a nutless, spineless wonder. But okay. And I understand a lot of people have their criticism towards TYT, but I'm glad I'm seeing stuff like this. I'm glad I'm seeing people who are pushing Biden in 2020, realizing that they bought themselves a lemon. See, I saw what kind of administration Biden would lead in the aftermath of the 2020 election. It was going to be nothing but neoliberal smoke and mirrors. It wasn't going to usher in any kind of change. Now, there was an opportunity for Biden and Harris to really do some great things. There was an opportunity for AOC and Bernie Sanders to hold Biden's feet to the fire. There was a chance. I'm not going to deny it. There was that opportunity, just like how Obama had that window of opportunity with the Democrats. When he had that supermajority in the Senate and House, there was that opportunity. However, we have to add in the point that we have a sick, corrupt system where money in politics supersedes everything. And of course, the Democrats are never going to fight for progressive policy issues. They're never going to fight for any of the issues that they say they care about because it's all about the dollars. I said this before, I'll say it again. The Democratic Party is just like the Republican Party. Click, copy, paste. That's what they are. So wake up to it. I want to play another video segment here And this has to deal with the aftermath of what happened to Representative Rashida Tlaib and when she got censured by the United States Congress. Her colleagues, including 22 members of the Democratic Party. You think Biden or Harris are going to step in and stand in solidarity with her because, Rashida Tlaib is calling out the fact that there is ongoing destruction in Gaza? The answer is no. No. Not going to happen. Let's play this video.
Think back at that child that we watched a video of, okay? Brian Mast sees this person as a Nazi, same as a Nazi, deserves to be slaughtered. So while Rashida Tlaib uses a phrase that has multiple interpretations, Mast made clear that he's a supporter of war crimes, including the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Yet McCormick, who brought forth the censure against Rashida Tlaib, had no problem with Mast's undeniably violent rhetoric. And we should not forget the first Republican who tried and luckily failed to censure Rashida Tlaib. It was Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene who, in 2018, blamed California's wildfires on secret Jewish space lasers.
MTG, who's also been attacked by Democrats, is doing the exact same thing. See, it doesn't matter who controls the Senate or House or who controls the White House. Each side likes to play this game and divide the American people in what is right and what is wrong. See, this is why I say on the show that you should not be supportive to these politicians. You should not be loyalist to a party, because all what the two-party system has done is successfully brainwash and divide people in thinking that their neighbors, their friends, their co-workers are the enemy, or those who think differently, those who don't wear the same colors are the enemy, and they don't know what's good for America. It's a stupid game, and I do have the audacity to hope that maybe some members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, maybe this is a straw that breaks the camel's back. Maybe this is their revelation. And I do have to commend Anna Kasparian again for the first video for really letting it all out there about Biden. Let's look what happened under the Biden-Harris administration. The kids are still in cages. A woman's right to choose. Roe v. Wade died under the Biden-Harris administration. If it happened under Trump, I guarantee you, people would still be out on the streets. I know it in my heart of hearts. I see it. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm wrong here. I could be wrong here, right? But I just see people out there in the streets protesting day in, day out. Let's look what else happened under Biden-Harris administration. Inflation at an all-time high. Hey, how's the economy treating you? It's going terrible, folks. Let's look at our crumbling infrastructure. Ongoing wars. Hell, there's talk of a potential breakout for World War III, the sequel we've all been waiting for. Madness and insanity under a Democratic administration. And even before the war between Israel and Palestine took place, when Donald Trump was at that CNN town hall, the fact that Donald Trump made, no matter how you feel about his statement, made a more coherent call for peace than Biden ever could. I just want people to stop dying. I could get peace happening in 24 hours. I don't know if you could pull it off, but when you're more reasonable than Biden or Nikki Haley, that's not her name, you know you've lost. So well done to Anna Kasparian for waking up to this, or either that, just being vocal about it. I'll have democracy in the chat. How sincere do you think Anna Kasparian truly is in regards to saying she won't vote for Biden or the Democrats in 2024? Type 1 for, I think this really could be it. Maybe so. People do change. People do change their opinions. I've changed my opinions. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Type 2, no, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for them to tell me, hey, vote Democrat because Trump. Trump.
But that's okay, according to the GOP. The real problem is a Palestinian American woman who asks the country to just please consider the lives of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Tlaib has defended herself against the censure attempts, arguing that they are an effort to silence her and saying that her colleagues have resorted to distorting my positions in resolutions filled with obvious lies. And you know what? She's right about that. Pramila Jayapal, who is usually pretty weak sauce if you ask me, is the leader of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Apparently she grew a pair She agrees with Tlaib, and she stood up for free speech and for Rashida in a comment to CNN after this disgusting, despicable censure vote. Let's watch.
It is outrageous. I am embarrassed for those Democrats who voted to censure their own colleague, who voted against free speech. It is an embarrassment.
Never forget that there were many Democrats calling for the censure and silence of others. Never forget that there were many Democrats who wanted to silence other progressive voices, not just conservative or libertarian voices, but progressive voices too. So, again, to members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus who were all on board for this, to silencing others and their critics, when you guys get censored too, I just want to be clear on this. I don't like what's happening to Representative Rashida Tlaib. And if this was happening to a Republican politician too, let's say that they were being anti-war and they were being censored, I would be against that too, okay? I know all too well what happens when you have censorship, silence, suppression. It is not good. It leads to a whole other kind of nightmare that we're not ready for. But there I say it because we have many of these politicians that like to, control speech. I think we're already on that pathway for destruction. And I truly do wish that we could avoid something like that. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe a better future is around the corner.
Censuring Rashida Tlaib is an effort to silence her. Let's just keep it real. A censure resolution is one of the most severe forms of punishment in the House of Representatives. It has historically been saved for the most egregious offenses, like criminal convictions. Tlaib won't be removed from Congress, but this is a way to basically get colleagues on both sides of the aisle to publicly condemn her. This sends a message: do not criticize Israel's actions regardless of what they do or how many civilians they kill. Do not defend the Palestinian people. The common tactic is to lump those seeking justice for innocent civilians in Gaza with terrorist sympathizers. And look, in the past, smears and false allegations of anti-Semitism succeeded in silencing good people, real humanitarians who have no trouble seeing the humanity of the Palestinian people. But guess what? We're living in a new era. No longer can Americans sit idly by as our resources and our weapons get shipped to Israel so its far-right government can brutalize innocent people in our name.
I want to pause it here. I agree with what she's saying. I do hope that she is sincere. People do grow. People do change their opinions. And knowing that the Democrats constantly fail, knowing that the Democrats don't really stand up for any of their ideology or beliefs, they're only in it just to look good in front of the cameras, I think it's abundantly clear that we have to look at another alternative. And what have I said on this show? Citizen ballot initiatives and starting movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. I'm going to speak just for myself. In 2016, and yes, regrettably, in 2020, I had the audacity to hope that maybe there was a chance to really reform the Democratic Party. I was one of those people that thought, yes, maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's an opportunity for it to happen. 2016, I think we were all on board with the Bernie Sanders momentum, and then it floundered. If I think majority of us knew what we knew now then, I think we would have started maybe something far more different instead of just latching on to somebody who, was just propped up into being something that he truly isn't. In 2020, I had the audacity of thinking that Bernie Sanders was going to be ready. Hell, just a little going back just a little bit in 2018, I thought the Justice Democrats was a good idea. I was wrong on that because I saw just how much of a failure the Democrats truly would be. So to anyone that's really coming out and saying, hey, I'm not going to support Biden, I'm not going to support Democrats, great. Hey, let's do that same thing for the Republican politicians too. Both parties are part of the same club. All right, George Carlin was right. He's doing that big Broadway musical in the sky, saying, I told you so. And he was right. He was correct. He was correct in calling out the politicians. And Biden is a career politician. But let's look at what's happening to Biden right now. Shout out to Russell Brand, who actually tweeted this out. It's only just a short 40 seconds. But let's look at how Biden is being viewed right now by the American people. Let's play this video.
Again, that astonishing number on whether or not Biden has the stamina and sharpness to serve effectively as president. Only 25% of poll respondents say that he does have the stamina. 74% say no. And I know you're a history buff like I am. And so look here on this chart of where Biden.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at this. Presidential approval ratings 1 year out from election. First of all, you got former Supreme Allied Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower. Let's get busy. 78%. Bush from 91, 59%. Kennedy, RIP, 58%. Bush Jr. You lost to Bush Jr. 54%. Good old Bill Clinton, 52. Nixon, you lost to Nixon, 49%. Ronald Wilson Reagan, 49%. Barack Obama, look, holy cow, even Trump is beating you. Poor Carter. Oh, Carter. You never win. Oh man, that's sad. Look at that. Look at these numbers.
Biden's modern day predecessors were in their approval rating at this point in their presidency. And Jake, you see, Biden is down there between Donald Trump and Jimmy Carter. You may know that is down in the category of one-term presidents. He clearly wants to turn that around.
And he ain't going to turn it around. So let's bring up something else here about, and a huge shout out again to Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored, discussing the youth vote or voting for a third-party candidate to the detriment of the Democrats. Because Democrats, you're losing the voters. Vote. I really have to wonder. All those vote blue, no matter who people were getting a paycheck from the Democratic Party on Twitter, you know, those coveted blue checkmark people. I'm curious. I am so curious what kind of tactics they're going to use to try and smear and slander and bully people. I really have to see it. And listen, folks, as a favor from me, don't let these people bully you. Don't let them do it.
So I think that the problem is less that there are going to be a ton of young voters voting for Donald Trump, and more that there will be a lot of young voters who either say, I cannot believe these are the choices in front of me, and stay home, or they choose to vote for a third-party candidate. I'm normally pretty skeptical of the impact of third-party candidates because we're so polarized, people ultimately will fall into one camp or the other. But there have been poll after poll showing whether it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or a whole constellation of third-party options that wind up garnering about 1 in 4 voters, and especially among young voters, that's particularly high.
And the reason why it's gaining popularity amongst young voters, because young voters have witnessed firsthand what happened to their loved ones, boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and yes, Gen Z. We're all seeing the two-party system for what it is, and young people are seeing the fact that Republican politicians, Democratic politicians only care about one thing and one thing only: money. Money. Now, other people say, well, their careers, everything else. No, it's all about the dollars. At the end of the day, the first thing, it's about the dollars. Second thing, it's about the dollar. Third thing, it's about the dollar. Fourth, fifth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about money. And these politicians don't care. They don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you. They're like an abusive partner, all right, who constantly keeps punching you in the face, cheating on you, stealing your money. But then, when the Uno reverse card is dropped, these politicians then say, oh, please vote for us. Oh, please support us. Please give us a vote. And I promise we'll change. They don't.
So this dissatisfaction, I don't think we're likely to see the Trump generation as Generation Z, but I do think that younger voters are frustrated with the options they have available to them. And if they simply sit out the election, that is devastating for Democrats. So I think.
But one more thing I want to play. One more thing that needs to be played here. How the Democrats also have, and of course everyone in corporate media, are finally speaking out. And we saw this early in the 2020 general election, or dare I say the Democratic primary, because what people tend to forget during the primary of 2020, especially in the early parts of 2019, many people in corporate media were talking about Biden's mental health, the way he talks, the way he slurs, the way he stammers, the way he stutters, the way he makes all these gaffes. Everyone in corporate media was saying this. And that's why there was so much hype around an alternative candidate that's not Bernie Sanders, like Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar. I know, try not to laugh. Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, etc. Everyone was trying to throw something at the wall, and Biden was their last best hope. And Bernie, being the spineless, nutless wonder that he was, chose to cower away, hide, run away, and not stand up against his good friend Joe. And that's how Joe Biden became the nominee. And then, hey, corporate media formed that shield wall, but that shield wall can't handle the criticism now. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows about it. You can't hide all the scandals. Don't forget, and I will keep on bringing this up, the Hunter Biden laptop story was proven to be true, which is why it is so important to point out that everything that this administration has done, if this was Donald Trump and all these things are surrounding him, people would be screaming at the rooftop for him to resign. And now you have Democrats, including people like David Axelrod, saying, hey, look, Biden's got to drop out. He has to drop out. He's not strong enough. He's not smart enough. He is not respected. That's the key word.
And I don't understand for the life of me why Chuck Schumer and why Hakeem Jeffries do not go to the White House and say, sir, you've been a great president. You've done a good job for us, but it's time to move on.
David Axelrod did say that.
He did say that, but he's from the Obama administration.
Which is basically a different party.
And so he won't be heard.
No love lost.
And none of the influential, the power brokers within the Democratic Party have the guts.
But who is the candidate then on the Democratic side that you believe would be competitive with Trump?
Most of them.
Your argument is that any of them would do as well or better?
Mitch Landrieu, in charge of infrastructure, one of the best retail politicians ever, the former mayor of New Orleans. Cory Booker, the senator from across the river.
Spartacus.
He's got an amazing rap. He's got an amazing.
He does. In person, unbelievable. You really feel special.
I'm not going to disagree with those things. The question is, you're in the polling business.
Yes.
Do you think those people win against President Trump if they were in that role?
Yes, I do.
No. I'm going to tell you why Donald Trump is going to be a difficult candidate to face off against this election year. And if he's surrounded himself with advisors that will tell him to go for the jugular, he very well could have this whole election cycle in the bag. And this isn't an endorsement of Trump, but I have to give what I feel is my opinion and analysis and reading the entire environment currently as it stands right now. There is a treasure trove of political ammunition that Donald Trump can use against the Democrats. The Democrats have failed throughout these entire 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. And let's look at the alternatives. Let's look at the alternatives here real quick. You've got Gavin Newsom, who has run California down to the ground. The Democrats are hyping up as their go-to guy. You have there was the talk of Pete Buttigieg or Kamala Harris. Those two, they're not respected. Kamala's approval rating is lower than Biden's. Dare I say it? I think Kamala's approval rating might be lower than Jimmy Carter's. Hey, Jimmy, you might have won one, Jimmy Carter. Well done indeed. Possibly. I would actually laugh if Kamala's was higher than Jimmy Carter. But anyways, nonetheless, the most punchable president. I digress. Nobody respects the Democratic Party. The Democrats have failed at every single opportunity. And when we look at all the organizations that were propped up to somehow reform the Democratic Party or challenge it, they have been absorbed. They've been co-opted to where they're now mouthpiece to the Democratic Party, like DSA. DSA voted to be part of the Democratic Party. You have the Justice Democrats. You have brand new Congress, Our Revolution. They don't inspire confidence.
How does that all work in terms of how you would effectuate this transition effectively? I mean, you'd effectively have to have Biden say, I'm not doing this.
Right, and you have to
step
do
down. Tell me how you're going to work or deal with the vice president.
He would have
because this is a very complicated
he doesn't have
two-step, three-step situation.
It has to happen right now because states are closing up their ability to get on the ballots. So Biden would have to leave in the next three or 4 weeks. We agree on this.
Okay.
And
so
Harris,
we can all agree this is not going to happen, right? Unless
No,
you really
I
think this
don't.
is happening?
Theoretically, if the Democrats want to have more of a fighting chance, I doubt they're going to have a candidate that could really take on Trump. Biden needs to step down in 3 to 4 weeks. It has to happen. If the Democrats really actually give a damn, or if they just, hey, are ready to lose, and then they could hype up fear, because no matter what, the Democrats will have one opportunity, and that is fundraise off of fear. That's the only caveat the Democrats can take away from this, which is why the Democrats, in my opinion, seem to be a little bit lackluster. Now, what is fear? Well, how are they going to capitalize on fear? They're going to be sending out the emails, doing fundraisers. I'm pretty sure all of you, I'd be surprised if none of you got an email from the Democrats saying, you got to support this candidate or get ready to vote in 2024 because Trump will get rid of X, Y, and Z. Get ready for those emails. Get ready for those commercials. Get ready to see all those tweets on social media from the Vote Blue No Matter Who people. They're going to tell you to fundraise, money, because Trump was good for the Democrats because they could fundraise off of him. He's their golden goose, because even if the Democrats were to lose the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they could still get enough suckers to give them money. But even then, it should be pointed out that if the Democrats do continue as Biden, there is a possibility, not a high possibility, but enough people will be distancing themselves from the Democratic Party and not fundraising or giving them money because of how much of a failure they might be in 2024. It is a possibility, a likely scenario, which is why I say this election cycle will not be the most important, because it won't, but it should be very interesting and it should be very funny. Okay, so I'll go with those options right there. Interesting and funny. This election cycle will be very interesting and very funny. So let's observe and watch. Be spectators, because I'm not voting Democrat and I'm not going to vote Republican.
No, I don't think it's happening. I think it could happen. And if I was a Democratic strategist like Axelrod, I would insist on it. Because Joe Biden is not going to be the same guy a year from now that he is today. And the reason why people are turning against him because of age is not because of next year. It's 4 years down the road. Joe Biden would be 86 as president.
What about Andrew's question, though? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it somebody else? How in 3 weeks you not only convince him to step down and then find out who the nominee is?
She's polling higher than he is. Explain that.
For the first time ever.
No, but explain that, because that goes completely counter to the narrative.
In a word, age.
It's the negatives, not the positives.
Yes, it's not her strength, it's his weakness, and it's getting weaker and weaker. And he's got one economic issue, a major economic issue, which is inflation. It's still an annoyance, it's an irritant, because it affects every single individual. And Biden can't get around that. That he might be able to fix, but you can't fix age.
And again, when the Democrats lose people like this,
The George
who have a large following on social media, Democrats, it's a kiss of death.
W. Bush administration condemned the Israeli government for doing an airstrike in Gaza that took out one Hamas militant but killed 14 other civilians. Think about how disgusting and devolved our country has gotten, where Joe Biden can't outdo the war criminal George W. Bush, where George W. Bush has more morality than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I will not be voting for Joe Biden under any circumstance. I don't care about any other policy that he has championed. I cannot, as an Armenian American, support a president who has greenlit the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. This, for me, is the red line.
There's only one way to end that.
Oof, 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 oof.
Good luck, Democrats. You're going to need it. And we'll be covering this election cycle. Stay tuned to Hard Lens Media.